Welcome to the Pursuing Freedom Outdoors podcast, a place where backcountry warriors can share their stories of grit, service, healing, and wilderness adventures. I'm your host, Tom Walton, Marine Corps veteran, full-time cop, and aspiring hunting and fishing guide. Join me and others as we journey from the hood to the woods in pursuit of freedom in the outdoors. Welcome to the Pursuing Freedom Outdoors podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Tom Walton, and I am really excited because tonight I am joined by Jeff and Nicole Davis of Big Boar Bear Baits. They are based out of the Pacific Northwest here, and they are your one-stop shop for all your bear baiting needs. So I couldn't be happier to have them take time out of what I'm sure is turning into a busy hunting season. We were talking about it before I hit the record button. It's also that time of year when you live in a place that has winter where all the chores are kicking in, because it is right now, as we're recording, May 6th, and this will come out really in less than a week from now. So it's a busy time of year. Work is busy. Chores are busy. Bears are hitting baits. So lots to talk about, lots of good stuff. Jeff, Nicole, welcome to the show. Thank you for your time, especially in the midst of bear baiting season.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just dive on in, because I don't have a huge introduction written up for you guys. You know, we can just start. You guys can choose who answers what first, you know, do a little fighting back and forth if you need to. But just start with, you know, each of you guys one at a time. What got you guys into hunting? What's your backgrounds in hunting? And how did you end up on being such big fans of bear hunting?
I'll start because it'll lead to her. I was actually kind of a late onset hunter. I hunted some as a teenager. My dad wasn't a hunter, but you know, friends and their family went out a few times here and there, whatever, and then didn't really think much of it until about 24 years old, and I got a recurve bow and a mule deer tag, you know, and I shot a forked horn mule deer buck, you know, and that was kind of that was it. You know, all the scouting that led up to all of it, you know, all that, and then I harvested on opening morning, and it just everything snowballed from there, basically. Like I was in it, you know, everything that I could consume. You know, back then it was VHS tapes and magazine articles, and I was living in Oregon at the time, and they had just outlawed hound hunting and bear baiting. I tried to do a little bit of spot and stalk there in the fall, with no luck. But then when I moved to North Idaho in the early 2000s, my friend who was well into bear baiting kind of got me into it, and him and I together baited bears like every spring, every fall for several years straight. And that it was basically like when I got to Idaho, that's really when I was just like my feet hit the ground running, because there was just so much opportunity. And yeah.
And then I met Jeff, and I had never hunted, never thought about hunting, wasn't really on my radar. I loved being outside, but I got into the idea of baiting bears and just that process, not necessarily the harvest, but what would it be like to go out with him while he baits bears? What would that look like? Learning, messing around with all of the different ingredients. And then last year was the first year I was like, you know what? I think I want to hunt. I want to try this. I think I can do this. And between really what got me, and it's sad for the new rules and legislation around trail cams, sending cellular trail cams, because that's what hooked me. Having those bear pictures roll in throughout your day, or like getting off of work at 4:00 and looking at your phone and seeing all of the bear pictures, I was hooked. I was like, I want to do this. I want to see these bears in real life. And last spring, I was able to harvest my first bear. And now I'm a little obsessed. I would say a little obsessed is an underplay. And part of what I love so much and what's been exciting for me is I love advocacy. I love talking to people, connecting with people. And through the hunting community, I've been able to connect with a ton of people, connect with the Idaho Wildlife Federation and other organizations to be something bigger than just sitting in a tree stand, which is incredible, but something more.
That's awesome.
How we got here.
That is way too cool. I love the story too. And you guys are married. How long have you been married?
This is like the $1 million question.
Yeah, so answer it.
He got married in 2022.
Yeah.
All right,
Almost 4
on.
years. Yeah.
Right on. Kids?
So we have one left at home. He's about to turn 17, going to be a senior next year. And then Jeff's 2 daughters live down in Boise, and they're grown and adulting hardcore.
Nice. Awesome. Any interest in hunting from the kids?
My oldest daughter loved it, until she became a teenager. Well, late teens. And it was actually when she went off to college or whatever, she just didn't have time anymore. And then now that she has a career, she just doesn't have time much anymore. And, eventually she'll settle down, and all that. Her son, Brendan, I took him out and he got his first bear. Yeah.
Right
That was a
on.
pretty cool experience.
All right. so
We,
you-
I was just going to say, we just, like she said, about advocacy or whatever, is like one of the things that I really enjoy is taking people out, because that's something that bear baiting offers, is new hunters. It's relatively simple, not for the guy that's baiting bears, but if when you take someone out and you're like, hey, I want to offer you, this opportunity that most people never get, and it's easy for them just to sit in a tree stand or a blind or something like that. And they'll get to hopefully see something that most people will never see in the wild, so yeah.
I
That's
love
fun.
that. Yeah, I think that's huge, and we'll get into the reasons behind why baiting is your guys' preferred tactic and why it's ethical and all those things. But I think just right out of the gate, something that I hit on that you just said and talk about is just the opportunity to see things that most people don't. What you really get a lot in hunting, but bears, especially in thick timber country like we have here in North Idaho, you don't see as many of them, and they're pretty elusive. And I mean, I know I grew up where we had bears, camped my whole life where we had bears, and I think I had seen over the course of my life, I don't know, 1 or 2 bears in the wild before. And then to go like, bear baiting, and Nicole, you talked about the game camera law, and I think you really made a good point too. I mean, we're not seeing the bear and then running up and killing it because we know it's there. It's just, I mean, yeah, it's intel, and you could get it by going and getting your card in the old school way, but it is so much fun to just see those pictures coming in. But that's why I really enjoyed bear baiting, which was my first experience in bear hunting, was because you just get to see these animals that you otherwise wouldn't get to see. And if it wasn't for a friend that took me on my first like baiting experience, helped me get the bait filled up and allowed me to sit, his established bait, he kind of let me use it, I wouldn't have ever seen, killed, or anything with my first bear, let alone seen any bears. And that was pretty cool. I had some good experiences walking up to the bait with bears on it, and them climbing my tree stand because they were scared of me.
You're right.
It's a really cool thing to do, and it is a lot of fun. And a lot of people out west get, kind of hard up on the idea of sitting in a tree stand for a long time, but it's not my favorite way to hunt other big game. I do occasionally, but man, there's something about sitting over a barrel and you just don't know what's going to happen and what's going to come in. And so I really like that.
Right.
Really like that. Yeah. So just kind of backing up, Jeff, you came to North Idaho, you got an opportunity to hunt bears. What is it about bear hunting that brings you back to bears? Why bears of all critters?
Well, for one, they taste great. It's one of the best wild game foods, like balanced wise between fat and protein, that you can consume. I know they get a bad rap, but I think that's from back in the old days when, when we had a lot of landfills, every community had a landfill, and the landfill was full of bears. And of course, they're going to taste like what they eat, just like anything else. So, but they are great tasting, and especially when they've been eating off of your bait for a couple of months, they get the sweeter. And that's not everything though. I don't know what it is. I still get the fever from them a little bit. At least the first one that comes in. And even if I'm not going to shoot, like, it just gets my heart pounding. I think it's me trying to, because most of my setups are up close. They're set up for archery. So it's just the trying to be the fly on the wall and just observe them and observe their behavior, and all the while try to keep my nerves calm. It's so challenging. And I think that's a lot of it too, is I'm trying to beat myself, like win the game with myself and to learn control and discipline and things like that, all the while enjoying this incredible show, and just seeing what they'll do and what their size and their color and all of that. And they're just such amazing critters. And not to like, I mean, I love deer hunting and elk hunting too, I mean, uh, they're they're pretty typical, like what their behavior is. And bears,
They're smart.
they're smart, and so they do some, and they're goofy. They do some funny stuff, and they get creative and all that. And there's just something about them that keeps drawing me back. And I think also too, a lot of it is the time spent in the tree stand in the spring. It's been a long winter since fall and everybody's dying to get out and all that. And watching the earth come back alive again, as the snow's receding up the mountainside and the morels are popping, just all of those things are happening in front of you. And I think that's what a lot of it is because springtime is my favorite time to do it, because I think that's why, I guess.
Hey, folks, just wanted to take a quick break from the show to talk about my most recent partnership with a good friend of mine, Jake Collier, and his company, One Outdoors. One Outdoors provides a trusted place to purchase outdoor experiences, gear, and services. They aim to positively impact people and the environment by donating 10% of all of their net profits to Restoration Outdoors, a nonprofit, which in turn invests in mental health and conservation. One Outdoors offers trips around the globe, whether you're interested in hunting in Africa or fishing in Alaska, Patagonia, and more. They can customize your outdoor experiences and beyond just hunting and fishing to whitewater rafting. You name it, folks. If you can dream it up in the outdoors, One Outdoors can help make that dream come true. And I'm proud to be partnering with them and consulting on trips and hunts. So if you're interested in booking a trip of a lifetime with One Outdoors, you can reach me or reach out to me at Thomas at pursuingfreedomoutdoors.com. It's Thomas at pursuingfreedomoutdoors.com, or you can contact me directly through Instagram, Facebook, you name it. But One Outdoors, folks, really excited to be working with these guys. So thank you very much for listening to the Pursuing Freedom Outdoors podcast, and we'll get back to the show. Yeah. Heck yeah. No, well said. Nicole, anything to add as to, I mean, you got introduced to bear hunting through a bear hunter, but I would assume you've done other types of hunting or been on some other hunts with them since then, or just the bear hunts?
So I've been on an elk hunt, well, a few elk hunts and some deer hunts, but it's the only animal that I'm currently interested in hunting. And going on those other hunts is incredible. Like the elk hunt I went on blew my mind and really made me understand why Jeff was as passionate as he was about hunting. Hunting is a commitment. It's a lot of time away from home, away from family, out in the woods. You don't have cell reception. And so like that disconnect was hard for me to understand the why behind it. And then we went on an elk hunt and a bull came rushing up a mountain and he was tearing up trees and just bugling, and you could hear just the capacity of his lungs when he was breathing in, and just that power and that just experience alone was mind-blowing. Like I am not in a place to elk hunt yet, but it was mind-blowing to see such a powerful creature so close yet so far away. Like you're 15 yards away in one area and Jeff's maybe 20 yards away, but no clean shot. And I'm watching this animal just going crazy in front of me. And I'm trying to like fathom, why hasn't he like drawn his bow and like shot this elk? And I can't see him and he can't see me, but we're both watching this animal just do what he does best. And so it made me
no clear shot the whole time.
It made me
That's how it goes.
understand the passion, the reason, the purpose behind hunting, and just the power behind animals and the strength. And that was a really cool experience. And then bear hunting, to me, there's that solitude and that peace of getting away from the world. Sitting in a tree stand is hard. My first sits, it was hard to be still and be quiet. And so adjusting to that, but that other side of it is like when you're out there and you're listening to elk bugling and you're hearing branches snap and a chipmunk's like squeaking in your ear and you have all of these different things, you realize how insignificant those daily problems really are and how this whole creation around you is so much larger than what you can imagine. And it's a powerful experience that I don't think most people understand. And having a bear come in is incredible. I have thought I was going to die. It's been an experience. This last year has been things I never thought I would experience and more.
That's incredible. I love your descriptions. I think you could write some pretty powerful, at least magazine articles, if not some short stories, maybe there for your guys' business future. Little couple short story book on your hunting adventures together, because some really powerful descriptions. But yeah, I love it, guys. You guys are obviously passionate about bears. You guys also seem, and you said it already, you're passionate about advocacy as well. And that's kind of how we had an opportunity to cross paths, was through the Idaho Wildlife Foundation's Spring Bear Bash here in Coeur d'Alene. We were both, well, the three of us, because there's three of us sitting here, right? But we came to speak. I spoke about the Bear Foundation, the American Bear Foundation, on behalf of those folks over there, Joe Condilis, because he couldn't make it out. And I really loved your guys' presentation, and I could tell your passion from that as well. And I think you guys did a great job. And if I remember correctly, you guys were on the heels of Hunter Hedequist, who came with the Hound Dogs. And it's always hard to beat the guy that brings a dog for everybody to pet, but you guys did a great job. And in fact, it's kind of funny because I don't know if you guys realize this, but you're actually on his heels right now as well. We just dropped an episode. That's live right now with him. So you guys are following Hunter a second time here. But yeah, so that's how we met, was the Idaho Wildlife Foundation, which is, a sportsmen's and wildlife advocacy group, and they do incredible work here in the state. Absolutely appreciate and love those folks. But you alluded to it, Nicole, but why advocacy? I mean, you just got into hunting. What was it that drew you to the advocacy side so quickly?
I like people. And I think it's that part of, I like connecting. I like planning events. I like being involved. Most of my roles have been in kind of government work. And so that idea of always trying to find funding, we're always like doing these things to continue to program and do all of the important things that our states need. But what we don't talk about is keeping our states the way they were meant to be. And when I had an opportunity to talk to Kyle from the Idaho Wildlife Federation and Nick and all of those folks, it was amazing to hear the amount of work they're doing on a legislative level and the amount of effort and energy that goes into protecting our rights, our way of existing. And if we're not going to do something now, we're going to lose all of those opportunities. And I think Jeff is really passionate about this idea of like connecting everyone together. It's not about baiters and hound hunters and spot and stock. It's not about residents, non-residents. It's about everyone coming together to have this unified voice, because if we lose that, we lose the opportunity to be strong enough to keep this way of life going. And it's scary. We've seen it happen state by state. There's this push to conform to what the new agenda is, and it's scary. It's scary that people may never understand what I got to experience over this last year, because that opportunity is taken from them.
Yeah, a lot of I have a rant that I do, on my soapbox, and it's, if I don't, especially Idaho is the last stronghold. It is, and it's eating its way all the way to Idaho like a cancer, and it's even on the other side of Idaho because Montana's losing its way too. And I just believe that we need to work together, all of us, non-residents, residents. Like if we are passionate about the outdoors and our wildlife, we just need to stop fighting, because the anti-hunters love it when we infight, because then they get away with all sorts of stuff, because we're too busy arguing with each other about what caliber is the best caliber, or, oh, that guy uses a crossbow, or whatever the goofy argument is, right? And it's like, and those are fun to have too, but I'm just saying, like, we need to just get together more and get more unified and hold a stronger front, or it will go away. And I'm afraid, I never thought it would be where it's at now, as far as some of the rights that have been taken, and you look at the state of Washington and all that. I never in my life thought it would get that bad. And, but yet here we are, and I don't want to see, even if my children decide that they don't want to hunt, or whatever, or their children's children don't want to, but even further down the line, the opportunity needs to be there. And the North American wildlife model is the only one in the world that has worked, and it works pretty dang well. Yes, it has its flaws, but it works pretty dang well. And if we lose it, it's going to be a pay to play situation or nothing at all or whatever, and I get very soapboxy about that whole thing, which is very unlike me because I'm not a people person, but I do think we need to band together. It's time.
I think it's awesome. I mean, hunters aren't typically known for being people, right? People persons.
Right.
Typically, a lot of hunters, I mean, there's the camaraderie around a hunt camp, but a lot of times we like to spend time out in the woods by ourselves and be away from the madness of human race. But
Yep.
I think the hunting community needs more people like you guys, like Nicole, because you guys are the type of folks that are gonna connect us and lead the charge in these advocacy roles, and we definitely need that for all the reasons you stated. And I mean, you can look at Colorado with what they're going through right now, just a constant onslaught of bad legislation that's been shoved down their throats. It's constant in Oregon with they're trying to ban, the slaughter of all animals, calling it animal cruelty, right? They're attempting to put that on the ballot for the second time, not the first time, the second time.
Right.
And how many times they get that on the ballot before it finally passes. I mean, I hope that there's enough people in that crazy state that like to eat meat enough to where they're not going to vote for that. But I mean, that would shut down slaughterhouses and cattle ranches, and you couldn't slaughter domestic meat. So it's
Right.
scary stuff. And in Idaho, we definitely have to work hard in Idaho because we're not immune to poor legislation. We're not immune to our own set of problems. And even though we're not facing issues like you typically see on the West Coast states or in Colorado or in some of the Northeast states, the issues that we're facing are, even though we are such a large public land state, we're losing land in Idaho like crazy. Unit 5, which is the unit that I live in, we just lost 52,000 acres in the last 2 years, which is about, I think it was like 2/3 to 3/4 of the unit you can no longer access, and almost an entire unit completely gone. And so what sucks the most about that is in a unit where we were once spread out as hunters, now we get mad because there's guys in our parking spots that we think are ours, our public land spots, right? But they're not there because they want to stomp on your spot. They're there because they got pushed out of theirs. And that's why when we see overcrowding, when we were at that the Wildlife Federation event, we had the Idaho Fish and Game communications director come up, and I think he did a great job. But I had asked him about hunter recruitment because there's too many hunters around here nowadays, all these people that moved here. So I asked him, hey, does our hunter recruitment for residents in Idaho reflect the amount of people moving from other states and the political pilgrimage from these for a lack of better terms, communist states? And he had told us that no, that actually, in fact, the numbers have stayed consistent for the last decade. So it's not a hunter number problem, it's a land access problem. So I think that's something important to highlight, and that's going to be critical going forward in Idaho because we aren't immune to the money thing like back east where things are turn into leases. Big ranches and big landowners, and they realize they can make money off of an elk when farming is not really encouraged in the United States right now. Then they can make some big money selling their private land tags and shutting their stuff down and doing leases and all that stuff. So that's what I think we need to keep an eye on in Idaho is fighting for access and trying to get Fish and Game in the state to continue to encourage, large block access. So that's my soapbox for Idaho.
There you go. Yeah. Feels good.
Yeah, it sure does. Well, so we got the why behind the bear hunting and how you guys got started. We've got the why behind the advocacy. What are you guys involved in advocacy-wise? Are you guys actively members in an organization and doing stuff?
So we're part of the Idaho Wildlife Federation. We're helping plan the next big event for the Idaho Wildlife Federation is going to be the Wild Game Cook-Off on August 1st, and that's going to be at North Idaho Archery. And that I'm super excited about having a bunch of hunters come together and cook their best foods that are wild game to normalize consumption of these foods that some people have never even tried. I just want to win. I'm not going to win. I'm not going to enter competitively, but I'm sure going to cook. The Inland Wildlife Council, who does the Bighorn Show, we're members of that as well. And I just think that They do so much for habitat restoration and education and putting on even the Bighorn show itself. Like these ideas of connecting people who have a shared interest and normalizing that this is important has been really, really great. We like to involve ourselves with a lot of the community organization or community businesses, like North Idaho Archery has been a huge ally to us and allowed us to do some speeches there
Mhm.
and just education as a
Mm.
whole.
There's another organization. It's called the First Hunt Foundation. I don't know if you've heard of that. They are
Yep.
in several states.
Yeah.
We've donated, stuff to them and all that, so they can, take someone out
And they'll be
and all that.
having their annual banquet July 25th. So that's another cool event and a way to get involved. Attending those banquets puts money back in the hands of these organizations so that they can take out a first time hunter or take out a hunter with a disability or a veteran. And that is such a cool opportunity to, whether it's donating bait or being able to attend those events, it's such a powerful experience. We just went to the annual banquet for the Safari Club International, and we're able to put in a donation for that. And so just being involved in those larger organizations that are doing the legislative work that
Yeah,
a single person cannot do, like you need that membership and
yeah. I
that
wouldn't even know
involvement.
where to begin doing that kind of work. Like you want me to go pull barbed wire out of a field, I can do that, but I'm not going to be on Capitol Hill, so it's important that, that we take care of both of those things. So we used to be a part of an organization here that actually helped with access on private land, but they have disbanded. I'm not sure who's taking over the responsibility for that access, but they did a lot of stuff like that where they mend fences, because when the elk herds move through and they blow down, so you help mend their fences and clean up and stuff like that and all that. And in return, these private landowners would give their opportunities for people to come and hunt their land. It's almost like I can't remember the name of it now. One of the friends of the meat eater crew started something that's very similar to that, and it's supposed to hopefully be all over the United States.
Good
So
deal. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, all important things, which again ties right back into Idaho too with that, landowner thing.
mm,
We need to help these
losing the
landowners.
timber company land.
We're losing it fast. And that's part of what
Mhm.
just happened in my unit is that Stimson Lumber, who allows unlimited access to their lands for hunting is for free, just sold I think it was like 30 plus thousand or 42,000 acres of land to the Coeur d'Alene tribe. And the Coeur d'Alene
Right.
tribe has a hunting program where you could get a license through them. It used to be very affordable, but now they've really hike those rates up. And so you're paying your resident fees. If you're a resident in Idaho, you're paying for your resident tags, and then you have to pay essentially non-resident type prices to buy a second elk tag for the tribe. So if you were to kill an elk on tribal land, you would have to tag it with yours and the tribal tag. It's not like you get two
Right.
tags out of it. And it's confusing and it's a mess. But the tribe just completely shut down. They're not issuing any more hunting licenses or tags right now, just fishing licenses. And they claim that they're doing an evaluation on the ground. I honestly think they're just not going to do it again. If I had to guess, this just that we probably won't
That's
see it.
kind of the the rumor around the block is that yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're gonna shut it down. And then, and a lot of that, and I hate to point fingers, especially as I was like just saying all of us outdoor groups need to stick together, but a lot of that, not the tribal thing was different, but that other timber company just shut down how many thousands of acres,
Yeah.
and it's because people are destroying it.
Yep. Yep.
They're destroying it. They're going around the gates, they're littering. I think a lot of it's the littering,
Yeah.
because people have been going around gates forever. It's not that it's okay, but it's the littering. It's gotten pretty bad.
It has. It has. I think when I was really involved with BHA, backcountry hunters and anglers, they're all
Mhm.
about stewardship projects and pint nights. They like to drink beer.
Yep.
But One of the stewardship projects that I kind of had wanted to do, but never got off the ground, and I think there's a little pushback because it's not technically public land and they're a public land organization, is, man, why are we not getting groups of people together approaching these timber companies or these large landowners that do large tract stuff for hunters, and work through, maybe work through the state to get the communication with them, but go knock on these folks' doors and offer cleanup days. Like, hey,
Yeah.
and you should be picking up, I pick up trash along my way. If it's something I can pick up and throw in my backpack or something that's not like a wash machine or a TV, I will pick up trash, and we should all be doing that wherever we're hunting. Leave it better than you found it. Turkey season, I pick up everybody's freaking shotgun wads when I find it. And those can be hard to find. And I've left my fair share behind, but I always try to pick them up when I walk by them, or a shot shell on the ground. And, we just gotta take care of what we have, or we're gonna lose it. And that's starting to happen. So
Yeah.
if I was getting involved in some advocacy
image.
right now, what's that?
It's that image too. When you think about
Yep.
people who believe hunters are a certain way, and then they go into the woods and they see litter and stuff, they're not thinking like, oh, this is just some random person. That blame and that responsibility falls on the hunting community. And that just
Yes.
continues to like put this stigma associated with hunting and hunters.
You're giving them ammo,
Yep.
by
Yep. No,
not leaving it better than
you're making it easy on them to shut it down.
Mhm.
So
for sure.
I think that, and unfortunately, these timber companies are getting bought up these days by people that aren't from Idaho, for example, and they're not friendly to hunting anyways. So they're just looking for an excuse. And we
Right.
don't need to give it to them. So maybe that's
Nope.
a good advocacy route. Somebody could start a program like that one of these days. But yeah, good stuff, guys. And thank you for being such a big voice and wanting to be involved in that kind of stuff, because it's so important. That's fantastic. Appreciate you guys being like that. So just kind of moving on to a little bit more back to the baiting stuff. A couple things I want to do is I definitely want to talk a lot about big bore bear baits. But before we do that, just for our listeners that are maybe struggling out there, because bear baiting is not as easy as it sounds, right? I have attempted a lot of bear baits and not been successful, whether it's no bears showing up, or bears showing up too late, or bears just like little bears or out with cubs. And, there's a whole bunch of reasons why you won't be successful on a bait. So, you don't have to go crazy, but like 30,000 foot view of where to start. Like, I've not bear baited. Like, what do I need? What are the basic necessities for a bait? And how do I pick a spot to put that bait?
Okay. Well, 1,000-foot view. I would first of all work on, the first thing I would do is find a spot, because honestly, you can bait bears with anything if those bears aren't being baited by something better than what you have. So if you find a good location, then that makes your job easier, right? Because then now you're going to become the sole source of the goodies. I like to find that third level of ridges. In North Idaho, all of the main roads are in the bottom and they're in the top of main ridge systems, like the divides between the Coeur d'Alenes, or, 4th of July or whatever, and the Joe and the Coeur d'Alenes, and then you have the Clearwaters and the Joe and all that, right? So like you have those massive ridge systems, and then now just think 3 more tiers down in all the fingers that are coming off of that. And that's typically where you find the bull screaming in the fall too, is those pockets. It's those same pockets. And you'll find a lot of elk sign, because the bears, when they naturally in spring, once they get done eating grass, they're gonna go to wherever the calves and the fawns are gonna be dropping. So if you get down away from people in those holes where there's elk, there's gonna be bears there. If it has the water and dark timber that they like to bed in, like, that timber that's so overgrown that you're just like, there's no way I'm going in there, and it's just dark all day long, that's where bears live, And so you find a spot like that, try to find a little bit of an opening somewhere around something like that, and then moving on to bait, getting the smell out. That's key.
Briar grease is your best friend. When you're setting up an initial bait site, like, yes, the barrel can be full of bait, but like getting that scent to be tracked around and spread, like getting briar grease, whether you use an additive or you use straight fryer grease, making grease lines, spreading that scent far and wide so that any bear in that area is going to smell it and he's going to come in and he's going to walk through it and then track it back. Because you want that, all of those sticky sweet things, all of the grease to be all over those bears so that as they're walking down, around, over branches, over logs, over that thick, dark timber, they're leaving scent everywhere. And bears can smell a lot better than we can. So using them as the best resource to spread your scent far and wide.
Yeah. That's kind of yeah. And then I guess you can do it in a pit. We use barrels because I like just bears to eat the bait, and we run chains over the holes, heavy duty chains, so the ravens can't lift them, and it makes the bait last longer because it is a lot of hard work, especially if you're going to get away from people. And that's not to say that you can't find an easy spot. I have made some really easy bear baits and killed nice bears off of them,
Mm-hmm.
but that's only going to happen. You're probably only going to kill one bear off of it. So for those sites that if you want to create, a seasoned site that's been established year after year after year of using it, then you want to get into that go deeper and all
And
that. But like,
going deeper also prevents hound hunters. Like I know you guys just had a podcast with a hound hunter who's a great guy, but nothing sucks worse than when hounds bust your bait. And honestly, it's going to happen. Hounds are wicked smart and they can pick up a bear's scent like no one's business. And so getting out there, getting deeper allows bears to hopefully not cross any road systems when they come to your bait. Because that's what's going to happen. If these bears are coming over a road system that an ATV side by side, or even just walking those roads somebody can do with their hounds, the likelihood that they're going to strike and go straight to your bait is high. And it's not the hound hunter's fault. It's not the dog's fault. It simply means you messed up. And you have to live with that because they're hunting just like you are. And so get away from roads, get away from people. That means hopefully the hounds aren't that lucky to strike on your bait.
Love it. Love it. So just like trying to, if I were asking questions, trying to understand, you're talking dark timber. Are you looking kind of on the more north facing sides of things, like in the cedar, like big cedar grove type of country?
yep,
Gotcha.
yeah, almost. And I remember it was actually when I first started baiting, and we were being checked by Idaho fishing game, and he couldn't believe that we were baiting on the north slope. And we just told him, we said, there's a lot more bears in here than you think, So because they prefer it, the north slope,
Right.
it's cooler. They're wearing a fur coat. So yeah, like a north side, water in the bottom, which keeps it cool. And then it's just a matter of like your bait to like stand or blind. And that all depends on which way that the topography lays out, because we have our prevailing winds that generally come from, south to west is our main prevailing winds, right?
Yep.
And unless we get a weird storm out of Canada, which is pretty rare. And then you have your thermals that you have to deal with. So you just set all that up accordingly, depending on where you're at. Just pay attention to what the wind's doing and what the thermals are doing.
So I'm kind of picturing if I have my bait on a north slope that's like perfectly east to west and perfectly north, set my bait on that hill, I'd probably be good to set it on the east side of that bait and kind of on the same elevation. So that way, prevailing winds pushing my scent behind me and thermals going up and down aren't going towards that bait. Am I kind of on track with that?
Yep, exactly.
Gotcha.
And with the advantage of if you do tree stand it, the advantage of that too is that hopefully your scent's not hitting the ground for, a couple 100 yards if you're lucky, so yeah.
Yeah, because scent control is important. You don't want to be sitting in a tree stand smelling like perfume and all the things, but bait sites smell like people. Bears are not dumb to the idea that humans put this here. It smells like humans. I smell humans. This thing reeks of people. And so that idea of scent control can only go so far. And you have to outsmart bears. So positioning your tree stand, making sure that you're mindful of it, like all of those things are so important because at the end of the day, you're trying to outsmart a predator that is one of the sole predators in our woods. Like, we have wolves as well, and like coyotes and other things, but think about the fact that like these giant creatures are coming in and eating off of baits their entire life.
Yeah, they make their living with their nose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas like an ungulate stays alive because of their nose. A bear, that's how he eats. Period.
Right.
You know, and so it's they know they grew up eating off of baits, like she said. They know what's going on. And at least North Idaho bears, right? Or Idaho bears in general. But when they come in, they can tell, like if they cross where you crossed in the trail on the way in, they can tell that that scent is 12 hours old or whatever. I mean, I know they don't have cognitive thinking like that, but they know that it's older or it's only a half an hour ago, and so that makes them leery. So you have to think about where your stand is, where your bait is. Like, one of the things we tell people is, when you go to fill your bait, don't ever walk past your stand. So you go into the bait, you go out of the bait, or to your camera, and then your bait, and then out. And then when you go into hunt, angle off, slip over to your stand, climb up your stand. Don't go to the bait and then your stand, because they'll come in, smell you go into the bait, and then follow your scent right to the base of your tree. I've watched them do
Gotcha.
it over and over and over again, and then they're standing there under the tree and doing mock charges at it. And that's when the rodeo starts, so.
Yeah, that's when they're very uncouth. Uncouth is my new favorite word. And so bears can be quite uncouth when they see you
Yeah.
as a potential threat to their food or their cubs.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. It does make for some fun.
Hey, everybody. I just want to take a quick break to thank you for listening to the Pursuing Freedom Outdoors podcast. And to thank you today, I want to offer you a discount at 360 Sportsman. Head over to 360sportsman.org now and use promo code PF15. That is PF15 to get 15% off your subscription to any of their master classes listed on the website. You can learn anything over there to improve your skills at hunting, fishing, trapping, snowmobiling. There's going to be first aid classes up there. They've got all kinds of stuff. There's even a how to build a house class coming. So anything you want to learn related to the outdoors or just making yourself a more knowledgeable human being, head over to 360sportsman.org. Use promo code PF to get 15% off any of their master classes. Want to thank you for listening to the Pursuing Freedom Outdoors podcast, and we'll get back to the show. I bet. I had heard an old bear hunter tell me one time that he liked to just hang an old t-shirt over his bait and then just let the bears get used to his scent. I don't know if you guys heard that or thought of that being a worthy practice.
Yeah, I heard that too, right when I first started baiting, and we did that. We put a sock out there or whatever. But I came to the conclusion that they're smelling us already. They're already getting used to us.
It's like you don't have to put the shirt out there. That makes sense.
Not unless you want to lose the shirt.
Because, I mean, they're destructive too. Like, that other side of bears that I had no idea about is when they get mad, when a bait runs dry or you're done for the season and you're waiting an extra week to pull out your barrel and you're going, they will destroy everything that you've touched because they're mad. You leave a blind there, like, we make natural blinds out of like logs and trees and things, because you put a blind in there, you're going to come back and it's going to be all tore up. And maybe it lasts a season, maybe it lasts a day. But that idea of they're destructive and they're curious, this like natural curiosity, they're like puppies of the forest. And so they're curious, they're destructive, and they're big. And so we have some incredible trail cam pictures of them eating our trail cams. And I mean, when I say incredible, like, that's devastating and expensive, but also you just got to watch a bear chew up your trail cam. Like, that's pretty cool.
In real time on your on your cell cam.
Yeah, like, this is a cool picture. Oh no, this is bad, and it's just like pee.
Yeah,
man.
Oh yeah, they'll get through bear boxes.
Yep.
They crush my camera by crushing the bear box. So yeah, if they want it, they'll do it. Yeah. I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Just a little more tidbits. The scent thing and all that. Just really, really soak the area with as much scent stuff as you can. And I mean, I think that's it. The rest of it is just staying on top of keeping bait in it. You don't have to fill the barrel if you don't want to. I like to only put like about 80 pounds of food in the barrel. And because I think it creates competition, which is going to and this is all my theory, I don't but is that if the food seems scarce, they're more likely to come in the daytime because I'm trying to use their own competitiveness and dominance against themselves.
Gotcha.
Because I've noticed, and I don't know, maybe it's just something that I've noticed is that when I'm like, I don't want to have to go back in there for 2 weeks. I'm going to fill the barrel or whatever, all the way to the lid or whatever it is like that. The bears come in whenever they feel like coming in because the
Mhm.
food is there. It's
Gotcha.
like, yeah, it's like if your freezer's always full, you never go to the grocery store,
Yeah, so you have
right?
those
You know?
big giant beasts eating up your bait from midnight to 4 a.m.
Yeah.
and you're not going to shoot that bear
Mhm.
because he's not going to come in during
Yeah,
daytime.
you're habituating him. You're letting him dictate the schedule, basically. And I think that creating that competition helps break that up.
Nocturnal bears are a problem.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to, I don't think either of us would ever have a solution to how to absolutely guarantee you don't have nocturnal bears because they do like moving at night and they are more nocturnal. But trying to find ways of disturbing their pattern, outsmarting them, making them think that they have to do something different in order to eat.
Hmm. The other thing, too, that a lot of people, especially new bear hunters, they get really excited. And, it's their first time baiting. They finally got a bear coming in, and it's like this medium-sized bear, right? And they show you a picture of it, and you're like, yeah, that looks like a sow. And, which I'm not, if they don't have cubs, they're legal. And I totally get it if it's your first time. But I also tell them, if I were you, I wouldn't shoot it. And not because, she's going to produce cubs. It's because you want her to lure when she goes into heat. She's going to bring that nocturnal boar in
Mhm.
in daytime hours. So
Right.
it's best, even though it gets expensive and time consuming and all those things, put in the time, sit and just take pictures of that beautiful sow coming in, because come the end of May, beginning of June, when she goes into heat, he's going to follow her around. It's just like a buck and rut.
Right.
So, that's why you keep the does. You're like, I'm going to keep those does, leave those does alone because they're going to bring the bucks in. And it's the
Right.
same situation.
And that other
Gotcha.
piece I think is important, that commit to the sit. Like, my first time sitting in a tree stand by myself, that 30, it's getting dark, it's getting intimidating. Like, bears like to come in at last light. And so you sit till it's the last of legal shooting light. And more often than not, that's when you're going to kill your bear. But if you're packing out at 7 o'clock, 7:30, maybe 7:10, a bear's going to walk in there. And you're going to be sitting there in your car going, shoot, I messed up. And I am speaking from experience with that. And so that idea of like just being committed to the sit, like, yes, bears are scary and walking out of a bait in the dark is scary. I don't think anyone, well, some people would say it's exciting and it's what you live for. But that idea, like that fear but bears are scared of people. And more likely than not, if you're walking away from the food, they're walking towards the food. And so being there at night, being committed to the very last legal shooting light is when you're going to get those nice bears. It's when you're going to have those stories to tell, whether it's a story where you text your husband and think you're dying, or stories where you just hike out and you get to say, like, I hiked out in pitch black and I know there's bears everywhere. Like, that's super cool.
That is intimidating to do when you're not used to doing it, for sure. I can distinctly remember questioning my sanity, even walking to the bear for the first time with, to bow hunt. And I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm walking into a bear's dinner dining room with nothing but a bow. It seemed pretty ridiculous, but yeah. And on that, what's the story behind that you feeling like you were about to die?
Oh gosh. So the last spring I was sitting, was it spring or fall? Spring, fall.
That was spring.
Last spring, I'm sitting in a tree stand. This is towards the middle to end of the season. And we had this reoccurring sow come in with.
I don't mean to interrupt your story, but there is something that needs to be said to anyone listening that hasn't baited before. And if you get a sow with cubs on your bait, you should probably just move your bait. If she's big, she will completely control the bait, and she will run off any insubordinate bears. And so if her cubs, if she's not going to kick, if they're not the 1.5 year olds that she's going to kick when she goes into heat, and she's going to keep them, she's going to keep every bear away from there.
Yeah, so we had this beautiful, beautiful chocolate sow. She is a monster. She's back on our baits again. And she's huge. She's enormous, huge, big, beautiful bear. And last spring, she had these two fluff balls, the cutest little bears. And that being my first hunting experience, my first time, like I was in awe watching these two little bears just playing and getting into messes and talking to each other, and mom talking to them. And it was just such a cool experience that was happening throughout my sits. And one night, it's getting towards the end of the night. It's like 8 o'clock, and I hear a bear, and turns out to be mom. And so I text Jeff, and I'm like, I'm going to just hang out here, take some videos of the cubs and mom, and then hopefully she'll leave and I can hike out. And so it became 9 o'clock, and she was pretty just content. She's eating, the cubs are eating, everything's great, and it's dark. And so I text Jeff, like, what do I do? And he goes, snap a branch. So I snap a branch, and the cubs tree with me.
Oh, wow.
These cute, adorable, fuzzy creatures are within arm's reach. And I am a little obsessed with animals in general. And so, like, my initial instinct is I want to touch that bear, but I know better, like, don't touch the cubs. But then that immediate reaction from mom was, you are between me and my babies. I am upset. And so she was clacking her teeth, and she kept bluff charging the tree stand. And I waited for a little while. One of the cubs came down. The other one was crying in the tree above me, and it wasn't coming down. And mom was getting madder and madder. And at this point, I turned on my light. I was yelling at her. Thought it was a good idea to throw a pine cone at her. Was not. She did not like that. She kept hitting the bottom of the tree stand. And I'm like, I'm going to die. Like, this is how I die. And all I could think of is, like, I don't want to shoot you in front of your babies, but I'm gonna, if you come up this tree stand. And I also just want to leave so your baby can come down, because this is a really sad situation for everyone involved. And so she would, like, get 15 yards away, and she'd just be clack, clack, clack. And then she'd huff, huff, huff. And then her head was high. And the only thing I could remember was Meat Eater saying, you know, a bear's going to charge if its head's low to the ground. If it's high, you're fine. And I'm like, I sure hope he was right when he said that, because if he's not, I don't know if between my fear and the adrenaline, if I'm going to be able to shoot this bear before it gets to me. So I hope he's right. And she stayed about 15 yards away. She clacked her teeth. She charged. I'm yelling at her the whole time. And I got down that tree stand, and we're like eye level, like face to face. And I'm like, it's fine. It's cool. I'm going away. Please stay. And the baby's up there just crying and losing its cool. And she would clack, and she huffed, and she didn't come towards me. And then all of a sudden I hear crunch, 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 crunch. And I think baby probably came down at that point, and they ran off. But it was terrifying. Not something I want to relive, but also so incredible. Being that close to cubs is adorable and cute, and they're like fluffy, amazing little creatures at that point. But also seeing, I would consider myself a mama bear, and I'm very protective of my son and of my family. And so, like, understanding that component and feeling like connected to that animal in that moment, she's just trying to protect her babies. She's trying to be like mama bear, and I interrupted her dinner and her experience. And my bad, lady, like, I'll give you a moment. But it was amazing and terrifying. That was the longest hike back to the car. And Jeff was just on the trail above waiting for me to come in. And I also said, by the way, my phone's dying. And that was the last text I sent. And then about 40 minutes later, I came out, and it was fine. But whew.
That
It's
is
a cool story.
That is a cool story, man. And for your like first year hunting, yeah, I mean that's enough to make a grown man poop his britches.
Yep.
For
Yeah.
sure.
For sure.
I don't.
Yeah, I told her. I said, you know, I think I hunted bears for like, you know, over baits for like 5 years before I ever had one charge up a tree at me or anything, you know. So I mean, it's cool that you got it out of the way.
I don't know that I could have climbed down that tree stand. I mean, it's like I know you get that you have to, but I don't know that I mean, that's a hard thing to make yourself do. Even I feel like I would still find that to be a hard decision to commit to. Like, all right, I'm going to go down there with that bear so I can get out of its cub's way. I mean, that's crazy.
So to put a little icing on that cake, a week or two later, she was sitting at the same bay. And of course, you know, this sow is completely taken over. All the other bears are pretty much gone. Some would slip in at night and get something, or like early in the morning, like 8 a.m. or something like that, 6 a.m. But anyway, she's sitting again and she texts me and she's like, the sow's back. Like, this bait's dead and all that. And I said, you should try shooting over her head. Maybe we can bump her off the bait and she'll take her cubs and, because this dangerous human just shot at her, right? In theory. So she shot over over her head. And how long did it take?
She's back within 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
She's a boss bear.
She is just a beast. And the way she would run off, like decent boars, not huge boars, but like decent boars were coming in and they were not messing with her. Like they were like, it's cool. And so she's an incredible mama. She produced triplets one year and twins last year. And by the end of this season, she'll be kicking those two out. Beautiful blondie, well, mostly silver. Like a silver bear.
Almost like a silver lab.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and
she'll be kicking
chocolate.
him and yeah.
So she produces great babies, but she's not very kind. And I thought I knew what clacking teeth was because I had heard like we have gone into baits later in the day, i.e. when it's already dark, and that's scary. And they'll clack their teeth sometimes, but usually clack, clack, and leave. Hearing when they're really mad and the power behind that, like clacking of the teeth and snarling, like that is next level, like power. She was very uncouth. She is the uncouth bear. That is my new word for disrespectful.
That is quite a tale. I said, start writing those down. Man, that's something. Well, I'm glad that you and Mama Bear are both came out of that okay. And I really admire your take on, kind of that mom to mom connection that you have with her. And again, as to why behind baiting bears, I think it's just because you know all about that bear, right? And you know her cubs, and it's cool to have that connection with the animals and the environment and the food chain, and just to be immersed in it the way you guys are with these bears. That is unique and special, and you can kind of get that when you're not baiting, but then you can't. Like some guys are really good and see the same bear over and over again when they're spot and stock, but you guys got a pretty intimate knowledge of these bears, and that is a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it's cool to see who survived. Like, what did winter do this year, and who's going to come out, and who's going to come back, and how big is this little cub going to be this year? And so it's exciting and it's interesting and it's fun. It's something that every person I can talk to, I'm like, you want to see a picture? Let me show you a picture. And then it's just like that hook. They're like, that's a bear? Like, how close is that bear? I'm like, that bear is like 15 yards away. And they're like, no way. And so that idea of being able to get people excited about it and interested who maybe have never hunted or maybe who haven't hunted in a long time. Bear baiting is that hook. It's that thing that gets people interested because you get to see some really funny, cool, unusual pictures. Bears are weird. They're just weird animals. They do weird things.
They're goofy critters. Everything about them, their personalities, they move different than an ungulate moves, just the way they carry themselves. I mean, they're pretty dang on cool critters for sure. I love elk. I like screaming bulls by all means. I definitely have a weird problem with turkey hunting. I find it ridiculously fun. And then not hunting bears this spring and last spring, I have hunted turkeys way too much because it's something to do. But I'd say top two favorite hunts are bears and mule deer for me. And I think the reason for me is whether I'm baiting bears or spot and stock hunting bears and spot and stock hunting mule deer, I spend so much time watching those animals, the does or the sows or the bucks or the boars, whatever. You spend so much time, whether it's glassing mule deer or sitting over a bait or glassing a bear. And I just really like to spend that time watching those animals. And, because there's times where you guys know how it goes when you're sitting on a bait and it's not a bear you're going to shoot for whatever reason, and you get to just sit there and watch it and observe its behavior and learn about its babies and convince her to not eat your face off because you're a threat. And, by the way, great de-escalation tactics on your part. But the
shout out DT skills.
There you go. But yeah, that's why I like those critters. I enjoy watching mule deer. For me, there's just not a lot better than a hard hike to a good glassing knob and then hanging out and drinking coffee, joking with your buddies and taking naps and just watching mule deer all day. Even if it's just watching a group of does, just that like any day now that buck's going to come cruising through. And while you're watching the deer, you usually see all kinds of wildlife. So it's awesome. That's fantastic. Guys, I don't want to miss talking about your business. You know, I want you guys to have an opportunity to talk about that. We could go on forever. One, I really enjoying listening to your guys' stories. And, you know, there's always opportunities for part twos, but let's just do a quick dive into your business and tell us about Big Boar Bear Baits. You know, where did you get the idea to have a bear baiting business? How can people find you? What services you offering, and maybe what's coming up for your guys' business here in the future?
Well, I guess a little history would just be I've always baited what's basically the traditional way in North Idaho is you either get dog food or bread, and I was a bread guy. You know, and you saturate it with grease and sugar and, you know, Boar Masters because he makes great products and all that. And somebody was selling this trail mix stuff or whatever out of Calder, Idaho. And I was like, let's take a drive down there and check this stuff out. And so we did. And I bought a barrel from him. And he told us that he was having some medical issues and wasn't going to be able to keep going with it and all that. And so then I took the stuff out hunting and I watched the bears rip all of the sweetened up yummy bread out of my barrel just so they could get at that trail mix. And I talked to Nicole and I said, you know, we have a big shop. What if we did this? You know, because every spring I spend countless hours dirtying her dishes, making goofy concoctions that are going to be the next best thing. This is going to be the thing that gets that big, you know, the big guy to come in, you know,
He doesn't
in daylight.
the pots that he was dirtying. That's the other side. He might try to make suckers or sticky syrups of sorts.
Goos, yeah.
And that stuff did not come off pots very well.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how it all started. We talked to the distributor and we ended up, you know, and it all just snowballed really.
Yeah, we had a great opportunity to work with Tony out of Kingpin and working with him and being able to get truckloads of Kingpin trail mix and frostings and spreadables and scents. And it kind of sparked our interest of like, how could we create our own scents? And I think that alluding to what's on the horizon for Big Boar Bear Baits, like we are in a constant search for the next best thing and signature things because we love what we do and we love being unique to Idaho because Idaho's so cool and interesting. And when you talk to people, shout out Tony, who are in Minnesota, like explaining huckleberries to someone who's never had a huckleberry or explaining like what it's like what the foods are like in Idaho in spring and fall is so different in each state and each like region. And so creating things that are natural to Idaho, creating those huckleberry scents, those huckleberry things, creating carameled apple flavored things, like those things that really just work with where we're at and are unique to us, our area, our little spot of heaven that no one else understands is fun and it's exciting. And Jeff is kind of a scent snob. And so that is kind of where we've dove is just like exploring what that could look like. And this idea was if this allows us to make a little money to supplement this guy's hunting trips, cool. I was really conscientious of not using any of our products for our baiting when we started without having to buy it. And then I started hunting and was like, you know, we can spare a little trail mix for, you know, a couple baits. So it's funny how that shifted. But I think, and we've met some incredible people. That's the other part of this business is we get to sit down with hunters almost daily, if not weekly for sure, and talk to them about their hunting experiences. I get bear pictures every single day for the most part, and I love it. I'm going to say every single person who sends us bear pictures on Facebook or Instagram, like I love those pictures. I love the conversations. It is so much fun. And we've been able to be a part of Spokane Tribe. They were collaring bears for their study. And so they bought bait so they could collar bears. And then
so they could collar bigger bears.
Yeah. They were only getting little guys. So like that piece of being a part of that and like our business helping the community and not being so big that we lose sight of the hunter who's just interested in buying a couple sacks of bait and trying it out, or that hunter who says like, I don't have a lot of money, like, but this is what I want to do. And we're not here to get rich. Big Boar Bear Baits is not our retirement plan, but it's our connection to a community that's so much larger than ourselves. And it's fun.
But at the same time, looking at the future, we are working at maybe trying to we'd like to get into local shops. I don't really care about getting into North 40. I mean, it'd be great, but I mean, that's not because I don't think the markup that they would have to do would make it unaffordable for the average guy.
Right.
So if it stays a little more mom and poppy, in some aspects, but when it comes to our sprays, our grease additives, and our powders, those I would like to. That's the next step, and we're working with a few different companies right now. We're trying to figure out who's got the best stuff because I am a snob.
Yeah.
Is that it has to be better than our competitions.
Makes sense,
That's my role. If it needs to be as good, and we can sell it cheaper or better.
And there's great products out there. And so that idea of there's amazing companies that are doing this thing, and we just want to be a little bit better. I'm a competitive person by nature. And so if we can be a little bit better, a little bit stronger, and a little bit more humanistic, I think that's the piece, is never losing sight of the fact that you can call us and say, what the heck do I do right now? This is what's happening. And we're going to talk you through it. We might not have the answer, but we'll say what we think. And being able to get it more local for all of our community would be a really cool opportunity. Like getting in that sports shop in...
Which one? The one in Harvard.
Yeah, the one in Harvard, the one in...
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's.
Yeah, the Blue Goose,
the other side of Newport. I can't think of the
the one in Old Town.
Old Town.
Oh, yeah.
Like all of those little shops that that's where people in the community pop into. So being there so that they don't have to figure out how to meet with us or we meet with them. Like the amount of trips we take all over the place to deliver bait has been fun, but holy cow, this is not our full-time jobs yet. And so making it more accessible, I think, is great.
Good deal. Well, good work, guys. And I think that's awesome. It's, keeping that humanistic feel, using your word, and knowing I'm buying bear bait from Jeff and Nicole, right? More than just the business name, like the people behind the business is who I'm buying this product from. And I think that's going to carry you guys a long way. I'm huge on entrepreneurship, huge on small businesses. I think it's, one of the most American things you can do is start a business. It just is what it is. Between it's serve your country and start a small business, or like the top two most American things you can do. As far as the American dream's concerned and making it happen. So hats off to you guys. That's really incredible work that you guys are doing. And I can't wait to see where Big Boar Bear Baits takes you guys here in the future. So
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to see either. Hopefully it takes me on a bunch of good hunting trips.
There you go. That's always one of my back pocket motivations too, is the whole reason I do the podcast really is I'm not trying to get famous. I'm not trying to get rich, but like you guys, I get to talk to people. I get to talk to a lot of really cool people. I get to talk to you guys and, get to talk to Hunter and all these people from across the country. To me, those connections are worth their weight in gold because you just don't know where they're going to lead you in life. It's fun to talk to people. Right. It's fun to support people too. I like lifting people up, and it's great to be able to lift up a business like yours locally. And you guys are not far. I don't know. Speaking of small businesses, because I just went in there for my monthly coffee, hay, and a chicken feed pickup. Have you guys been over to the Golden Gem there on Highway 27, the Shaw Ranch? It's just like just north of Rockford. It's like the big red.
I know what you're talking about. I haven't been in there.
Oh no, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
If you're coffee drinkers, as soon as you buy their coffee, you're never going to buy coffee anywhere else again. I have not bought coffee anywhere other than La Shaw Ranch Roasters. Well, since I worked down in Liberty High School, because when I was driving to work down there at the high school is when I started going to get coffee there. Right. And I drive all the way out there. They'll ship to you too, but I just like to hang out with the owners, Jeff and Amanda. They're amazing, amazing people. And I think two things. One, if you like coffee, you need to go buy their coffee. If you have chickens, you should buy their chicken food. But I think
We
you
got some
guys,
chicken.
I think you guys specifically would really hit it off with Jeff and Amanda to the point where I might just introduce you guys. Just they're a small business on the Palouse, but they have absolutely exploded their coffee business to where they're shipping all over the country.
Oh,
I
wow.
love that.
That's
And
great.
they are generational farmers out there too. So they're a good American family. I think you guys would hit it off. But that's a tangent off topic. And they don't sponsor the show, but I will put out there for everybody the Shaw Ranch Roasters, LASHAW Roasters, Rockford, Washington. Best coffee, hands down the world. And you would be buying from one of the greatest American families I've had the pleasure to meet. So as we wrap up here, guys, I've got 2 quick hitters I want to ask you just because I wrote them down and I just curious, and you don't have to dive into too much explanation, but I'll ask both of you. Nicole, I'm going to start with you because I just think that you're turning into quite the expert here. Ground bind or tree stand? What do you prefer?
Tree stand, hands down. You're higher, your scent's going to carry you away from the area better, and you just got a better angle at the situation.
And Mama Bear can't get to you as quick.
No, I hope not.
Jeff, ground bind versus tree stand?
Tree stand, same reasons. But I do have to say this: shooting a close quarters, shooting a bear from the ground is a whole new level.
Yeah.
I've killed actually in the last few years, I've killed 2 from the ground, and one was at 12 yards and one was at 7 yards. It's a rush.
They're right there.
They're right there.
It's not something
So-
I've done. I've not done the ground blind on bait yet, but I have a really strong desire to do it for that reason. I feel like that'd be quite a rush, a challenge, but a rush. Good deal. Nicole, favorite bear dish? You had to only make one thing out of bear for the rest of your life. What are you gonna make?
Easy. Chorizo enchiladas with bear chorizo.
Ooh, I'm coming over for dinner. Jeff, what do you got? Favorite bear dish?
Well, you might have to wait because I think we just ate the last package.
No, we have 2 more.
Damn.
We have 2 more packs of bear
Okay.
chorizo. So
Mine, jalapeno cheddar bear smokies
All right.
from Woods up in Sandpoint, or Scotty's
smoked meat.
smoked
in
meats
Hayden.
in Hayden.
They're incredible. Kara is incredible. Great family.
Mhm.
Great people.
Both of those. I mean, I just don't know other butcher shops and how they do them, but I know that both of those shops do a phenomenal job on their smokies. And yeah, if that was the one thing, for sure, because I could eat one every day if I had to. I suppose that it'd be tough.
Well,
but
And if
I-
you're going to process your own game, like go to Michelix, get the stuff, make your own meats, like process it yourself. Like that experience of being hands-on with from harvest to eating, like that whole part was with you, I think is such an empowering experience. So I'm going to shout out Michelix because they have everything a hunter could need to like package up wild game, and they're just
and
a
they're
great
also
family.
a small business, family owned. It's a little hole in the wall place in Spokane that's been there forever. Not many people know about it.
They
love
got
it.
every kind of casing, high temperature cheese. Like it's such a cool, you can just go there and like look forever, even though it's not that big. You're just like, what is all of this stuff? So it's
Yeah.
cool.
sure.
I have not had bear chorizo, but I do. I'm a big fan of chorizo. But I am definitely a fan of jalapeno cheddar smokies. It was the first thing I ever had made with a bear. Which
Oh, no, he froze up.
side note, a bear was the first animal I actually ever killed. As a hunter, that was the first thing that I did was kill a bear with my bow. It was awesome. I had a bunch of smokies made and hooked ever since. But it's hard for me to pick a favorite. We just do so much with it. I really like bear ossobuco. Get really fancy.
Yeah.
I'm Italian, so I like making Italian food. But I really do like, I saw the Steve Ranella do it on his show with the ossobuco with the bear shanks, and I've done that. Every bear that I've killed, I've made ossobuco with that, and elk. It's my other one I'll go to. But bear, I don't know what it is. Bear makes a better ossobuco. Bear stews.
It's that fat.
Yeah, anything that you can put in the crock pot with a bear is always going to be good. I find it to be a great beef supplement. It's really good for anything you would do with beef. Yeah, well, sweet guys. And then the last thing, because we've been going for a little bit, and that's perfectly fine. This has been a great show. I'm really having a fun time. But so one of the elements of the Pursuing Freedom Outdoors is service to your country, community, all that stuff. And there's a background of service in the family. So, Nicole, what is it? Just share with us what you do for a living besides make bear
So
bait.
I work for the Department of Corrections, doing some programming and therapy for individuals who are incarcerated. And it is incredible to be a part of the correctional family. I think that people don't understand the sense of community that you meet when you're working inside the walls. Like that idea of 8 in the gate and you get to leave is one thing, but you never really leave. You know that there are people inside those walls every single day, working shift work, doing the hard things. I don't experience the same things that all of our corrections officers have to go through every single day, but the amount of work that goes unnoticed inside prison system is really a shame. And the idea behind rehabilitation and giving people an opportunity to be successful in the community, because those people are going to be our neighbors. And whether you like that or not, it's the reality of the situation. And so being a part of Change for Good, giving people the opportunity to make that change if they so choose, and being a part of the correctional family. I am a huge advocate for challenge coins and like all of that excitement of just building enthusiasm around corrections and law enforcement and those drug dogs, man. My favorite part of my job is those drug dogs. Shout out to Cash and Jagger, coolest dogs I've ever met besides my own. But it's just cool to be a part of something so much bigger than me.
And it seems to be where your heart is at, is being a part of things bigger than you. Yeah, you guys are awesome people doing awesome things in the world and in hunting and out of hunting. Really appreciate you guys coming on tonight. How can people find you?
Facebook, Instagram, Big Boar Bear Baits. We post almost at least weekly on both of those apps. You can, my phone during the day, I don't have it, so you can always call or text Jeff, 208-819-4039. But
Yep.
social media, I
Google.
think, yeah, we're on Google. We have a website. So just, if you look up Big Boar Bear Baits, you'll find us. Say hi. We'll definitely share this podcast. So if you're a podcast listener, welcome.
Awesome. Great. Well, I appreciate you guys. Again, I've said it a bunch, but I really do. It's hunting season, it's chore season, and we all have lives and work. So I know you guys have been busy. We were trying to get this scheduled and finally got to it. And I really can't wait to hopefully get some bear pictures from you guys, so I can live vicariously through you this spring as you guys start harvesting a couple of nice bears. Please share the pictures, and yeah, we will look forward to talking with you guys again. In the meantime, want to thank the audience. Appreciate everybody's patience as we've shifted to the 2-week drops on episodes every 2 weeks rather than every week. It's been super helpful for my time, and I actually think that people are listening to each individual episode more. It seems to be actually beneficial. Might have stumbled onto something, but I appreciate everyone's patience because there's been some changes in my release date times and stuff like that. So, but it should be ironed out Monday morning. You should have your podcast every other Monday mornings. This will be coming out. Today is Wednesday, May 6th. So be looking, it'll be just this next Monday. So not even a full week. And this episode will come out on the heels of Hunter. As we said earlier, it's kind of funny. Didn't do that on purpose. But yeah, so like, subscribe, follow everybody. Pretty please. It does help keep the show going. You know, like I said, I don't do this to get famous. I don't make money doing it, but it is encouraging to know that it's being valued by folks. So please subscribe and add some comments too. Engage with me and my guest on the platform you're listening on or social media. All right. Well, Jeff and Nicole Davis, Big Boar Bear Baits, right here in the Pacific Northwest, your new and best North Idaho bear bait solution for sure. Hit them up, guys. It's not too late to start your bait this season. So I bet they can help you figure out what to do. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you guys later.
Yeah, thanks,
All right,
Sam.
thank you.
All right. Before we get started, I want to thank our first partner, Response Ready Medical. Response Ready Medical, bringing our customers the best quality training and equipment for the worst case scenario. Response Ready Medical's vision is to be the leading provider of emergency preparedness solutions across the United States, empowering communities, organizations, and individuals to respond confidently and preserve life during critical moments. Offering same-day certification, all Response Ready Medical classes are instructed by nationally registered and state-licensed firefighter, paramedics, law enforcement officers, and hospital staff. Classes currently being offered by Response Ready Medical include CPR and AED, CPR, AED, and first aid, emergency trauma care, child and babysitting safety, CABS, backcountry medicine, and wilderness first aid. Your premium partner in emergency preparedness, Response Ready Medical. Thanks again. And if this resonates with you, I want to welcome you to the tribe and encourage you to share this podcast with your friends. Hit subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Pursuing Freedom Outdoors. And if you or someone you know has a great story about life or the wilderness, I want to share it. You can shoot me a message on Instagram or email me with all inquiries and questions at thomas@pursuingfreedomoutdoors.com. That's Thomas, THOMAS, at pursuingfreedomoutdoors.com. Until next time, get out there, get after it, and pursue freedom in the outdoors.